$100,000 paid off. How much time would that take me looking at the level of income I currently am making and my current expenses? And what does that leave me with every month? And then see, does that work? How long will it take you to pay off that $100,000? If that doesn't work, something needs to change. Otherwise, you're going to be paying off that $100,000 for 30 years or your whole life. And no one wants that. That feels like, yeah, like, what am I living this life for? And that means, like, in that case. And that's when super negative thoughts creep in. Working on your mindset and transforming that is the most important part of any of these journeys, like the fitness, physical, whatever it is. If you can't get through that part of it and start thinking in a more positive way, or like thinking like, hey, this is possible. I'm gonna freaking kill this. I'm gonna do this and it's gonna happen, and I'm gonna make sure it happens within a certain time frame. Only then can you make it happen.
Welcome to the Power Plant Body Podcast. My name is Taylor, and this show is focused on self-development. I found in my own life, as well as the lives of my clients that I've worked with, that it's human nature to focus on goals in one area of life, or maybe two areas of life if you're lucky, to the detriment of the other areas of your life. For this reason, there's a tool that I use with my clients called the Goal Wheel that is specifically designed to shed light on how you might be preventing yourself from living the fullest life possible. In a nutshell, the Goal Wheel is a circle drawn on a piece of paper that's being divided into 8 quadrants. The 8 quadrants are family and friends, romance, fun and recreation, health and fitness, finances, personal growth and spirituality, career, and physical environment. Basically, you give yourself a score between 1 and 10 for each of these areas of your life, and that allows you to see where you're excelling and putting your attention, but it also shows you the areas of your life that you're currently neglecting. The areas of life that we neglect are often the areas that we need to work on the most. And that's exactly why I started this podcast, to share insights from teachers who are experts in one or more of these areas of the Goal Wheel. Each interview is meant to inspire you to take action in one of those areas so that you can live a more fulfilled and balanced life. To get your hands on a free copy of the Goal Wheel PDF so that you can use it to create meaningful goals and take steps to achieve them, head over to powerplantbody.com/free-tools. You'll find a bunch of other free tools and resources there as well. Financial literacy is a skill set that so desperately needs to be taught in school. In the United States, the average personal debt among adults is $92,000. My guest today is Hersh Chopra, a financial coach who, in his own words, helps people overcome the American dream lifestyle that begins and ends with debt. And Hersh knows what he's talking about because he went from $125,000 in debt to not only being debt-free, but financially free in only 5 years. Hersh is a breath of fresh air in a world full of fake financial gurus making lofty promises of high returns on risky investments. Because Hersh coaches his clients with a grounded approach to overcoming debt by using practical, time-tested methods for paying it down. Our conversation today is eye-opening, to say the least. Hersh shares some pretty amazing, if not terrifying, stats on what the average consumer is faced with financially these days. But Hersh also shares a message of hope for anyone and everyone who is struggling under the weight of debt. So if you want to feel better about what you can do about your bank account, then this is the episode for you. And just a side note, after listening to this episode, I know how painful it might be to want to reach out to someone about your finances, but send Hersh a message. He's super easy to talk to. He's very non-judgmental. And if you're feeling crushed by a mountain of debt, this is the guy that you want to talk to. So without any further delay, I bring you my conversation with Hersh Chopra. Okay, well, Hersh, I appreciate you being on the podcast. And something that I love is in your bio, you have a line that says, helping people overcome the American dream, which begins and ends with debt. So yes. I'm looking forward to getting into your story, how you got to be where you are today, which is where you help people with their finances. I would love to invite you to take this time to just express who you are, and then we can jump into your story of how you got to be where you are today.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm a financial coach. My name is Hersh Chopra, and I basically help mostly college graduates or young working professionals overcome the American dream lifestyle that, again, begins and ends with debt. So I help empower them to kind of start their journey to financial freedom through mindset transformation, financial education, and customized money management tools that kind of help them with, so they can set their goals, make sound financial decisions, track their progress, and take action towards their debt and saving and investment goals that they may have.
Love it. So I think someone like yourself so many people need someone like yourself in their life right now. As you said, the American dream, it seems like we are, extending ourselves beyond every measure. So I'd love to jump into how you coach people in just a moment. But before we get there, you coach this because you haven't always been, as I understand it, on top of your finances. You have a story about how you got to where you are today, and a really big mountain that you climbed in order to get under control of your finances. How did that start? What did that look like for you? How did you get there? And then how did you overcome that mountain of debt?
Yeah, sure. So I wasn't always financially savvy. I wasn't always thinking about my finances or money. It was more like, kind of go with the flow kind of mentality. I was good with numbers. So I always loved, math growing up and did well with numbers. But when it came directly to my finances or managing my money, that thought was just never really there completely. I would save money here and there, but that's all it was. Growing up, we were taught to save and accumulate money, but never to invest it, never to have some there were no there was no goal setting behind it. It was just save your money, don't spend too much money kind of thing. And so, and my parents, they moved here from India, and so we moved with them. This was about 25 years ago now, and they've seen the struggles. They started from scratch for us. They've seen the struggles around working the clerk and cashier type jobs. So money wasn't flowing in our household, but we were comfortable. Our parents made sure that we felt comfortable, and we definitely valued money a lot growing up. So all these things kind of compounding on top of each other, and me starting to see more of a financial view on my end as I was going through my own journey, going through various jobs and learning from my colleagues about 401ks or IRAs and stuff that I never even thought about or wasn't taught to me from my parents, because they didn't really know too much about it either. So that kind of led me to kind of see and expose for ourselves the money mistakes that we were making over time. And that kind of led me to start thinking about money a little bit more and start talking to my family about it a little bit more, because South Asian families, they don't really talk about money in their household. It's the parents will, handle all the finances. It won't trickle down to the kids because they don't want to overwhelm the kids. But what happens is we don't learn about the mistakes that they've made, then we learn about our own. So it's kind of relive that same journey instead of learning from it and growing faster. And I don't blame my parents at all for this. It's just how they were raised too. So it's just trickled down and no one's really thought about it that way. So while that was happening, I went through various job titles to different companies. I started making a little bit more money. I just didn't know what to do with it. So I would spend a lot of it. I would go out every week, hang out with friends, spend it on booze and eating out and whatever it is. And I'm oh, okay, cool. I can afford this lifestyle. I'm just going to keep spending money kind of thing, And later on, I kind of realized hey, I don't have savings. I'm not saving towards anything. Should I be buying a home at some point? I just never crossed my mind until certain conversations started happening later in my life. And that's when I started getting more focused on it. Once that happened, that's when I realized hey, student debt is a thing too. I went to college. I came out with a little bit of student debt, mostly was able to cover it with like grants and scholarships and stuff. But my parents helped me a little bit initially with college tuition, but I mostly handled it myself. And that's when I started figuring out like, okay, I need to be better with my money so I can pay off these loans. Right after that, I ended up going to grad school and got my MBA from UC Irvine. And that's when I realized like, oh shit, that's a lot of debt. I came out with like $125,000 in debt. And that's when my like financial journey really like picked up and I was really starting to be on top of it. I created a whole plan for myself. This is how I'm going to tackle it. Created a budget, did various things to pay off that debt, set a goal for myself, because normally what happens is when you're going to grad school, you pick up loans. They usually are over a life of either 10 to 20 years, depending on how much debt you pick up. And so I didn't want to wait 10 years to pay off my student debt. That's a long time. I was already like, in my mid 20s I was like late 20s at that time when I had the debt. And I was about to hit 30 and I'm like, I'm not trying to take debt till like I'm 40 or whatever. Right. It just slows you down. You can't grow as fast financially. You can't, invest in things that you would like to. So my plan was to pay it off within 5 years. Wow. And so I was like, well, I'm going to be aggressive with it. I'm going to put whatever I can towards the student debt and just pay it off way faster. While doing that, I got so caught up into the journey that I ended up paying it off in like a little over 3 years instead.
Wow, that's incredible.
So I was like, man, I got to do this for myself. I need to start moving forward, and I need to start. And that's when I realized too, like, if I can do this, then so can other people. And that's why, like, I want to be able to help others as well. That's when like my mind started thinking like, oh my God, like I've been working in a corporate job for like the last 10 years. It's not as satisfying for me to just do that. So I want to be able to make a difference in other people's lives, want to like leave my mark on this earth and do things that will help others versus just helping myself or trying to make myself grow monetarily or whatever it is. Right. So that's when I realized I went through all this, mental change about like thinking about money, taking action towards it. There's so many other people are going through the same stuff. I've seen my parents make like some financial mistakes in their life through like the businesses that they've gone through. And it hurts, man. Like you work hard for your money and then to see it like just slip away, like from your hands when things don't work out is a huge mental, like, stress. And that's why most people in the US are, suffering from stress and anxiety all the time because everything revolves around money. And most people don't have enough of it to keep the lifestyle going that they would like. So I think financial coaching or financial literacy in general is so important. And I'm so glad we're talking about it because I know we talked about this earlier where, you're a fitness trainer and you have to work on your fitness. You got to work on your mentality. You got to work on your finances. There's like so many things that you have to be fit in because and they all work with each other essentially, right? Like if you're not mentally fit, you're not going to take action towards things. If you're not physically fit, you're not going to feel confident when you're, trying to do stuff. And that's something I need to work on, being physically fit. So maybe I can learn from you on that while I try to help with the financial literacy piece of it.
When you were saying like it was 125,000?
Yeah.
$125,000 in debt paid off in just over 3 years. First of all, that's amazing. So I just want to commend you for that. It's an incredible feat. So
thank you.
I haven't looked at the figures in a long time. I can only imagine they're larger now, but I remember looking, it was like a year and a half ago, and it was something like $1.3 trillion in student debt in America and $800 billion in credit card debt or consumer debt, pardon me. Maybe it was credit card debt, one of the two. not very many people are paying down those credits, right? Whether it's the student debt or the consumer debt, they're not taking the pathway that you did. When you, in your bio, you say helping people free themselves essentially from the American dream that starts and ends with debt. What do you think is why do people feel compelled to overspend, to overreach? What's at the crux of that? And in your coaching, how do you help people pull back from it and realize a new way of financial literacy, financial competency?
Yeah. So, I mean, first point to hit is you said a year ago when you checked, student debt was at 1.3 trillion. It's now at 1.6 trillion,
Oh my God.
which is insane. And it's growing like rapidly, right?
Yeah.
Most people come out of, college or grad school with anywhere from 40,000 or 30,000 to like $500,000 in student debt, depending on what career path they choose, right? So that's one thing, like my piece of advice, or what I try to kind of point at or tackle, is most people are viewing others and how they're living. And now it's even easier to see that with this mass social media, like, like life that we live around. Basically, like we're always like viewing at other people's stories, what they're doing. There's a lot of envy, jealousy, and that kind of stuff. That's the stuff that really affects us mentally, because we don't see ourselves in the same shoes, or we think it's hard to be in those shoes, right? So we try to cope with that by spending more than what we can afford, and we don't realize it's something that we can't afford, or maybe we can in the moment, but it's really not doing anything for us to move us forward, because you earn money, you spend it all. You earn money, you spend it all.
Yeah.
So when a drastic situation like COVID or pandemic hits, then we're really screwed, because there's no savings. There's no investments in place. You don't have your house paid off. You don't have your debts paid off. So how are you gonna live life for yourself in that moment when you've been living it for someone else this whole time, because you're trying to compete with other people that have the Mercedes or the BMWs or the nicer homes or whatever it is. So we put ourselves in these situations where it feels like we're living the American dream, but really we're like deep in like debt, we're trying to leverage, debt to live the lifestyle that we want, but we're not really leveraging anything in that moment, because we've taken on more debt than we can actually, consume. So that's the thing that I try to focus on: hitting debt first, and then trying to hitting debt while you're creating a savings bucket, or at least an emergency fund, and then going through debt quickly enough where then you can start actually investing money into the market and growing your wealth, right? So that's my focus. Most of us have a mortgage, most of us have a car payment, and with that car payment then comes with insurance and maintenance costs and like all these other things. With the home mortgage comes maintenance, utilities, and property taxes and all this stuff. Like, people don't realize there's more to it than just those two payments. And once you start tackling those, then you free up your money to pay for the normal day-to-day expenses that are going to exist with or without that like that mortgage or loan payment that you have like building on top of it. So if you can work through the debt piece of it quickly enough, then all you need to worry about is the day-to-day expenses, which are not going to go away. Like, it's all going to be there. Unless, of course, you're like renting a house instead of, buying it, then you're not paying property taxes and all that. But, those costs are sometimes built into the rent, because whoever's paying the property tax is going to build it into the rent so they can, actually make money on that as a rental investment. I own a property in Nevada. I pay my mortgage with property taxes included, because that's just how it was set up when I bought it. And obviously I charge rent above that amount because I want to make money, right? So otherwise I'm stuck with just paying property taxes. And what good is that property for me if it's not making me money? Like I should just sell it. So that's what I focus on when I'm teaching people how to be better with their money. Just getting them to realize what kind of costs exist when they are, going into debt for certain things, right? Credit card debt is the very worst because people are spending above and beyond their means. They may be earning, $3,000 a month, but their credit card bill constantly is at $4,000 a month. It's like, how are you, moving forward? How are you actually growing? Sure, you're buying all this stuff to show you're buying it for yourself. Most people say, oh, this is for me. It's not for you. It's not for someone else. This is for me. But really, is it though? Like, look deep down inside. Do you need the Gucci bag or, Prada purse or whatever? Like, what really is that doing for you or your happiness? It's all a show, for most people, it's really an ego show, like show off thing. And, dude, like I wear t-shirts from Target and they're $6. They're plain t-shirts. I've gone through that phase of like, oh, I need the logo on my shirt, whatever, like the sweater I'm wearing right now is a gift from a friend. So like I try to spend, I'm very good with my money, in terms of buying, like purchasing stuff. Like I always look for sales. I will always look for the clearance. I don't care how much money I'm making. I'm still going to look for that because why not? Like if someone's going to judge me for it, like, yeah, go screw yourself, man. Like you're not paying my bills. I'm paying my bills. So I need to see, I need to see it for myself. I need to be the one who, takes care of myself and my family and, can afford my lifestyle. Like if I want to spend on something else that matters more to me, then sure, I'll do that if I can afford it. But in areas where I can save, I'll save. I'll do my best to save. I use promo codes online all the time. I'll go looking for them online if I'm buying anything. And no one knows about it. Even if they did, like, I'm sure they'll be like, oh, hey, can you share that promo code? They'll say that to you individually, but then like if we're talking in a group of people, like, dude, who uses promo codes anymore? Like that was such an old thing. Like, sure. Cool.
Pay full price.
Don't use it. Pay full price.
Yeah. You said something interesting there is, the whole idea of keeping up with the Joneses. That's been around for a long time. I think ever since, we've had some form of currency, and some form of social currency, I guess too, but social totem pole. But now more than ever, like you say, with social media, it's easy to see where you're at and see where other people are at least perceived to be. Obviously, that's a race to the bottom. If you're trying to keep up with people that are, for instance, like if you make $3,000 not a week, a month, if you make $3,000 a month, and you're trying to keep up with someone who is, makes $10,000 a month, so you're spending $4,000 or $5,000 a month on your credit card. It's a race to the bottom, but it's trying to fulfill something, right? It's trying to fulfill some sort of need, and we can go into the whole existential crisis that is probably in there. But rather than that, what's on for you, for someone who paid off that debt in 3.5 years, and for someone who's helped other people pay off their debt, whether it's credit card debt or student loans, what is the feeling that's on the other end of that fills the void that other people are trying to fill with credit card debt and Gucci bags and all that sort of stuff?
Dude, I feel like when I paid off my debt, and I worked my butt off to do that because I wasn't really keeping a lot of my savings. I had money saved up, but obviously I was dipping into it a little bit while I was paying off this debt aggressively as well. I would take anything and everything and put it towards my debt. And that was that made me happy because I was like, I can see the number going down like drastically every time I did it. And that was my source of happiness at the time. And I knew like there was light at the end of the tunnel, and I could see myself being free at the end, right? Like breaking those debt shackles that felt like, were dragging on. Like I was paying 1,000, at least like 1,500 to 1,800 a month initially, just because of the amount of debt I was in. And I could have had it at 1,200. I could have but that's still a lot. It's like paying rent for a place, right? So for me, that felt limiting for me. And so I didn't want to go through life like that for 10 years. That felt like I was just going to be, kind of dying inside and not feeling good, because I wouldn't be able to afford like going out or whatever I wanted to do. Like I want to go out, have fun with friends. I want to go to brunches and, take my family out to dinners and stuff like that. But, to not be able to do that for 5 to 10 years felt like I was trapped almost. So my happiness came when I reached the other side, or as I was going through this journey and then reaching the other side. I felt like so much relief, because now I didn't feel like someone pushing down on me, like, hey, you got to pay this off, and you can't do anything else. I felt like I could do more things with my money now. I felt like I felt like a sense of financial freedom at that point, but really, like, obviously there's other bills to pay. And, I want to be able to grow financially, or, have my income level, cover, the rest of those expenses as well. So I kept trying to grow my income at the same time. And as I did, I started paying more towards it. So it was like, I wasn't increasing my lifestyle. I was putting it more towards debt. So later on, I can just be free and do whatever I want with the money that I'm earning then. Right. So I think there's two ways of looking at it. Either you just feel like, oh, why is this happening to me? Why am I paying off so much debt every month? Like looking at, like, dude, I was paying off like $3,000 a month at some points, like it was just a lot. Wow. And if anyone else started getting in their head about it, like, oh, this is never ending, it just feels like it's not drawing down fast enough. You got to look at the goal that you've set and start tracking to it, start measuring it. Like, okay, I only have this much left. I've already paid off this much in a year. Wow, that's incredible. And celebrate that. And then you got to celebrate your journey along the way, because at the end of it that it's going to be so worth it, because you're not going to feel like something is just on top of you, like your chest, just weighing you down the whole time you're trying to live life. And yeah, I still lived a decent life. It's not like I was on the streets or anything like that. It's not like I was living in a dingy apartment or anything. I moved back home because that was my safe place that I can use to be able to move money to my debt instead of wasting it on rent. And again, don't get me wrong. Like, there's a lot of people in LA that have left their homes to make a life for themselves. So, and then they have student debt. So you have to see what works for you, right? They may not have a home to move into and not pay rent, right? So you have to look at other things. I made home cooked meals instead of eating out, right, all the time. I would go out once a week when I was living out in the apartments even, and go to bars, go to, lounges with friends, because everyone was around me when I was living. That was weird. When everyone was living close to me, and it just made it easy for me to go out, spend money, eat out every day. It just made it so much easier because people around me were doing it, and that's the lifestyle they had. They didn't have student debt to worry about. They were making money. They wanted to live a decent lifestyle. They didn't want to feel like, they're just trying to save. That's the other end of that too. Like, you have to see what makes you happy at the end of the day. Like, what are your real goals? If you don't care about, buying a house, if you don't care about, having income, like passive income of any sort, or whatever it is, that it's based on your priorities. So knowing that there's a better level of happiness at the end of it is what drove me. So I dealt with whatever I had to deal with for the 3.5 years to get me to that better happiness level. And I try to enjoy whatever I could while I was doing it too. It, again, like I said, I wasn't living a miserable life doing it. So
Yeah. That reminded me so much of like clients that I've worked with in the realm of fitness, like a weight loss goal,
yeah.
right? Because it can seem like it depending on, some people have over 100 pounds to lose, and that can just seem like an insurmountable challenge in front of you, especially when your lifestyle has so much momentum behind it.
Yeah.
The thing that I was thinking about when you started talking about this journey was, with people that I've spoken with who have a lot of weight to lose, it's one of the biggest challenges that they've had up until that point of talking to me is taking stock of what they need to get a grasp of, kind of like ostrich syndrome, right? So they know it's there, but they don't want to look at it because it's painful to look at, whether that's, their food choices or their lifestyle choices or whatever it ends up being. I can imagine it's a very similar scenario with the people that you speak to, where, they are making $3,000 a month, but they're spending $4,000. And they know that that's not sustainable. They know that if they look over in that direction, there's a whole bunch of things that they would see that they need to make changes with, but it's a scary task, or it's just an uncomfortable task. But in my experience with people who want to lose weight, I know that task, although it does seem scary at the start, is actually a very therapeutic, easy, and actually empowering moment for them that they can then spring off from. And I imagine it's very similar for you. What does that process look like when you're speaking to that person for the first time? And how do you start to guide them to look at the areas of their life in a way that can empower them?
Like you said, it feels uncomfortable, right? When you're looking at something that's not in your, it's not in the normal realm for you, right? So it seems like it's super far away. It feels like it's unattainable. And so the hope just kind of dies slowly once they start seeing it as a bigger thing than what it actually is. And dude, to be honest, I feel the same way about fitness. And that's something that I'm working with on myself to be able to move forward in my fitness journey. Like I don't work out as much. I started with yoga and all that kind of stuff. So for me, I think for both of our professions, right, I think it's important that the mentality is worked on first. So you need to be able to give them that hope, that direction, that look, people have done it. So it's not like it's something impossible, right? It's doable. You see all these life journeys that on TV, on media, whatever it is, like you see them everywhere, and people, that's why they do the before and after in fitness, right? You can see how much time it took, what level of effort they probably put into it, and what the results are at the end of the day. It's so even if you're 100 pounds heavier, or if you're 100K in debt, it's possible to be debt free, or it's possible to shed those 100 pounds. It just takes time, patience, and you just need to put in the effort, right? And if you don't do one of those three, then it's really not going to happen. And you're going to keep thinking that look, it's just taking forever. I might as well just quit now. And then you go back to your old patterns, and then the debt keeps accumulating. The pounds keep accumulating, and you're back to where you were, maybe even worse than where you were before. So going through that journey mentally first, visualizing what the end goal looks like, visualizing what your journey is going to look like is very important, because if you can't visualize your journey to get and then visualize the end goal after that, then you're kind of looking at a blank, at a blank slate altogether, and you don't know what the end goal is, and you don't know what you're going to expect your journey to be, and you're always going to be afraid. Fear is just going to take over, then you're just not going to take action. And so for me too, like you have to like set up small goals. You have to figure out like work backwards, right? Like $100,000 paid off. How much time would that take me looking at the level of income I currently am making, and my current expenses, and what does that leave me with every month, and then see, does that work? How long will it take you to pay off that $100,000? If that doesn't work, something needs to change, right? Otherwise, you're going to be paying off that $100,000 for 30 years, right?
Yeah.
If you only
life.
have, yeah, or your whole life. And
Yeah.
no one wants that. That feels like, yeah, like what am I living this life for? At the like, in that case. And that's when super negative thoughts creep in and you start going, down this downward spiral. And you lose hope. You start becoming socially like, negative, and you're spreading those negative vibes all around you. You're always, wallowing in your own pity. You want other people to pity you. You only tell that side of the story. So working on your mindset and transforming that is the most important part of any of these journeys, like the fitness, physical, whatever it is. If you can't get through that part of it and start thinking in a more positive way, or like thinking like, hey, this is possible. I'm going to freaking kill this. I'm going to do this and it's going to happen. And I'm going to make sure it happens within a certain time frame. Only then can you make it happen, right? If you're going to say, yeah, like this is never going to, like, I'm never going to be able to get through this. I'm never going to be able to, shed off the 100 pounds or pay off this 100K. Then yeah, you're putting that out in the universe too. And something or the other is going to come up and it's going to restrict you from doing that. Yeah. Even if you're trying your best at that point, you're just not going to make it. So I think that's important. So teaching them how to look at like, what do they think about money initially? Like, what's their thoughts around money? Do they think it's evil? Do they think it's going to work for them? Is it something that they can control, or is it going to always control them? That's important to look at. It's important to see what their habits have been over time. For me, my habits were really bad with money before. When I was going out once a week, I felt like that was my like, oh, I just need that relief. I need to go out, spend time on myself. But I was looking at it all wrong. Drinking once a week to make myself feel better was not the way to go about it. And don't get me wrong, I wasn't like drinking heavily or anything like that. It's like partying and drinking and spending money. Like every night I would go out with easy $100 gone, and then on top of that, Ubers, whatever it is, you're stacking so many things, and then you're not really helping your debt journey in that case. If you're not debt free, especially, right? If you are debt free, then sure, you may have different ways of, living your life. But then there's also investing. If you have money saved and if you can save money, then put it towards investment, put it towards your retirement. So you don't have to worry about it when you're 60, 70, 80, that, oh shoot, I still got to have my 9 to 5. Otherwise I'm not going to be able to pay this mortgage down, or I'm not going to be able to pay off this car. So it really comes down to your priorities. What do you care about in life? Looking at that, learning about your why, and then taking that and aligning that with your mentality, or your mindset, so you can achieve those particular goals. So I think the mental shift has to be worked on first. Making a plan, having that mentality align with your plan, and then start taking actions on the small bits that you've created, small steps that you've created for yourself to follow. If there's no small steps to follow, if you don't have a day by day, it doesn't have to be day by day, but like a month by month plan, then you're just shooting in the dark. You don't know what the outcome is going to be. And you're going to keep living the life that you have been, because it's like, hey, feels okay to me right now. So why don't I just keep going like this? Right. But your debt's not going away. You're still stressed out about that. You're still thinking, oh shoot, like, if I lose my job tomorrow, then I'm really screwed, because I still have this debt that's not going to go away. I still have my car payment. I still have my rent or mortgage or whatever it is. I still have to pay my utilities. There's so many pieces that kind of add on top and compound on top of each other, that's what really becomes the stress and anxiety right within us. And then once that happens, once we know it's not gonna work for us, that's when we start like losing our mind. That's when we start eating unhealthy. That's when we start like spending more money to make ourselves feel better. So it's like a it's like a downward spiral that goes even faster.
Compound interest in the opposite, in the wrong direction.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's exponential, right? Then it moves even faster. You move down even faster than what you would on just, your normal comfort level that you've been following to date. So that's the first thing I work with my clients on. And then we and that comes with kind of creating a budget. So my first call ever, like with any client, actually my first call is the initial call, which is free. It's like 15 to 30 minutes. So we can understand what the goals are. We can understand what they want out of coaching or out of learning about financial literacy, and where are their trouble spots. So we can work on that. As soon as we work on that and they sign up, that's when like I first go through the whole budget with them. I spend about an hour and a half just going through the budget with them and seeing where they stand. Your current status is what you need to look at, because if you don't know that, then how are you going to know what the next step is, right? Or how are you going to measure the gap between your current status and your final end goal? So yeah, that's the first thing I do with my clients, and I just work on the mental aspect of it first, and then create a plan, and then start tracking towards it, taking action towards it.
Yeah, those baby steps. There's so many. This is so similar to fitness. It's striking. The idea of setting up the vision, finding your why, starting with small steps. Another thing that I was thinking of as you were saying that is if you're in debt and you're working, so that person that's spending spending $4,000 but earning $3,000. Well, let's just take someone who earns $20 an hour, but they're in debt. They're not making $20 an hour because they're overdrawn, and the interest is actually eating into that $20 an hour. They're making maybe, $16 an hour, $15 an hour when the interest takes its cut from the fact that they're not paying down their debt, right? Yep. But the opposite of that is true, where if you aren't in debt and you're able to invest, then your money works for you. And rather than making $20 an hour, maybe you're making 25 or 26 when you look at the interest return over a year, over 5 years. And the analogy that I feel is in the fitness area, in the fitness realm, is that maybe you're not incredibly overweight or maybe you're not incredibly unfit, but there's something about your physique or something about your fitness and your health that you want to change. And it might not be apparent every second of the day, but there's little occurrences throughout the day that remind you that you're not where you want to be. And that's kind of like that's, $20 turning into $16 an hour. But the opposite of that is true as well. When you do achieve your goal, or when you do work on your fitness and you do move in the right direction, then there's moments of the day throughout the day that remind you of how far you've come and of why you were doing it in the first place. And I feel like it's so similar. Like for you, when you're debt free and you're going throughout your day, or you're able to go out and have dinner with your friends and not feel guilty about it, or whatever those small moments are in your life, and you know all the work that it took to get you to where you are today, I can only imagine that that's very fulfilling and rewarding. Yeah,
no, definitely. And it just feels like you can do more in your life than be kind of limited by other factors that are kind of keeping you at either like, a stable spot or at a spot that's not stable just yet, and you're trying to get to be stable. So being debt free helps you kind of move your money around in whatever direction you want, right? Like you can, if you want to spend a little bit more and you can afford to do that and it's in your budget, then you can do that, versus not being able to go out with your friends or spend time with like whatever it is, or a vacation. You feel trapped, right? When you have debt. When you're debt free, then you can, start saving towards a house, or start building like a vacation fund for yourself, or you can invest in like different opportunities that might come your way. Like, a couple of my buddies are starting a company, and if I was in debt, I totally would have said no to them to invest into their company. But now that I'm debt free, I can say like, all right, you know what? Let me extend a few $1,000s here and support my friends as they're building their company. And then that's an investment for me too. As they grow, my money grows. And so you can do things like that. You can put money in the stock market while it's down, right? Like last year, a lot of people put money in because they had stimulus checks, like, or whatever coming their way. That was money that wasn't, that was outside of their earnings if they were, below a threshold. But they were only able to do that because they were given like this free money. That doesn't happen in the normalcy of life, right?
Yeah.
So trying to make that happen for yourself, trying to become debt free so you're not throwing, $2,000-$3,000 a month for life. You have that money to work, and then you can use it to work for you. And as those investments grow, and it'll support you in retirement, it'll support you in the years to come as it grows, and maybe you sell it off at some point to then be able to enjoy that money that's grown, right? So those are the little things that happen. And once you have money to work with, you can start putting it in like income growing streams where you're just earning passive income. And you like, say you've put $5,000 towards something, and that's all you needed to buy, like say a vending machine company or whatever it is, right? Like you're putting vending machines in different like areas of the city. All you need to do is go restock the vending machine.
Yeah.
You're not doing anything else. You're just collecting after that. So creating passive income streams when you have money to work with, you're just growing money on top of your money. Instead of continuously putting it down into debt, then you just can do more with it. Then you can worry about, vacationing instead. Like, where do I go for this vacation? That's your worry. That's your stress at that point.
Yeah. I don't know how it's said, but there's that saying that, most people work for money, but the goal should be to have your money work for you, something to that effect. And it sounds like what you're describing there.
Yeah. Let your money work for you. Don't work for your money.
Yeah.
There's like variations of that statement, but you said it the way it is. But so I think it's important that you work at your debt. And if you can do both somehow, like if you're paying more than your minimum payment and it's going to achieve your like goal of finishing it off in a certain time period that you're comfortable with, then sure, then use the rest to invest. So then you can do both. So if someone wants to do that, I try to help them with that. So I'll like layer it into their budget where, hey, let's put a little bit more than what your current payment is, say on your car or on your whatever has high interest to it, right? Whatever debt has high interest to it, let's put more towards that. So you're not wasting money in interest over the life of the loan. And, but if it's like 10% and really the market's not going to give you like 10% in the next, 4 years or whatever it is. Okay, let's not use 10%. Let's use 15%. If the debt's at 15%, say your credit card debt, right? Like it's at 20%. You cannot pay off. You have to pay off your credit card debt. You cannot invest because your investments are not going to give you that same return. So it depends person to person what their situation is. And then I kind of work and tailor it to them.
And so you mentioned the investment piece. So once let's say that they are able to make likely a higher return on their investments than what they're paying currently on interest, and they have a little bit more left over from their monthly budget that they're putting down on their debt. The investment piece, is that something that you also help people with?
So I don't invest their money for them because I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a coach. And so I suggest things, and it's not supposed to be taken as, me telling them what to do. So I definitely have that disclaimer, but I try to help them as much as I can in helping their money grow and giving them the avenues or the suggestions where they can use that advice and actually do better for themselves. Because at the end of the day, man, like we're all working hard. We're all trying to like live a better life. And to be able to do that, you have to be able to make your money work for you eventually, or make enough money where you can sustain the current expenses. If your expenses are way beyond what your means are, then you're going to be living the same life as someone who's poor or in a really shitty situation. Even if you're, earning $10,000 a month or $20,000 a month, and you're spending like say $8,000 or $18,000 of it, then what are you really are you really doing well by saving, $2,000 a month? Is that going to help you in your retirement? Really? No, it's not going to let you live. And if that's how you want to live throughout your life, then that's your call. And then you're going to be working for life too at the same time. But I think that for most people, the plan is to enjoy their later life and not have to work, and do things that, make them feel happy. Like go travel, go hiking. Not hiking at age 60, 70, but people do it. Hey, physically fit people do it.
100-year-olds run marathons.
Yeah. Hey man, my grandpa living at home is 93 years old. He's still walking around doing things.
There you go.
He's not fit, but he's doing okay for his age, where he's self-sufficient, which is very important at that age. Right. And so it's whatever makes you happy, whatever's going to make you happy at the end of your life. What are you actually have to think what your goals are, what you want, and what do you want to do later on. If you want to give back to the community at some point, then you living on 18 out of the $20,000 a month is not going to help you give back either. And if that's already built into your 18,000, that's great, awesome. But if you're trying to give back and help people around you, or feed the homeless, or whatever it is, or the unhoused, you can do those sort of things and feel good inside too. And that's another sort of happiness. Sure, it's if it almost feels selfish, but at the end of the day, you're helping someone else, so it's okay. So it really depends on where you want your life to be and what you want to do in your life that's important to you. And then go, create your plan accordingly.
So, there's two things that I want. Maybe in a second we'll come to how someone knows if they're in this situation that they should reach out to you, right? But before that, something that I love about so I found you through Instagram. Something I love about your Instagram specifically, one, you share a wealth of knowledge. But Instagram, when it comes to finances, is we talked about this at the very start, the keeping up with the Joneses. There's a lot of people who tout double your money or triple your money even, or, Bitcoin investments, all these really fast churn and burn kind of ideas, scams essentially. But your information that you put out there is the tried and true. You think about people like Warren Buffett. He's been doing this thing for 60 plus years. And the reason why he's so successful is because of his commitment to compound interest and consistency. And it seems like that's your approach as well. When you look at, we sort of touched on the state of affairs when it comes to the American dream, but what do you feel is the biggest misconception out there for people when they think about finances in the 21st century, when they think about their finances or the financial state of, the developed world? What are some of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to investing in finances?
I think you said it best, that so many people are getting hammered by social media accounts that promote, hey, get rich quick, double or triple your money in, crypto or Forex, that's foreign exchange currencies. And those people that kind of buy into those, they really are being scammed, because at the end of the day, these people are not helping other people. They're getting fees being paid to be to teaching these people on how to do it. But of course, these guys are experts and they may be making money doing the same, but they're also now making money by taking like $500 from your, $100 a month or whatever it is that you're paying them to be in this like group of, people that are learning or, growing their money. And some may be doing it. Some may be able to pick up on it and actually do well with it. But most people don't, man. Like most people pay that $100 and they're just sitting in those groups like, I don't understand this. Like, I wanted to get rich quick, but now I'm like spending $100 a month that I could have been paying off something else with, they're trying to be aggressive with building income, but you can't build, like, there's no get rich quick schemes, man. There's just does not exist. Yes. Luck may play a factor in it, but you have to be practical and you have to kind of set some boundaries for yourself or, and I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying do it cautiously. If you're going to take that route and you can afford to do it, like say you have some money to play with after you paid off whatever you need to pay off and like save and invest in your other vehicles. And then if you have money left over to do something like this, do it. Like you also don't want to regret not doing something like this that could earn you money. People who got into Bitcoin like a while ago, they've done well. If I kept my Bitcoin, some of the Bitcoin I bought, I would have been doing well. But who knew it was going to reach $50,000? Like now it's at 60,000 today. Like who knew that, right? It just seemed like a hoax. Now bigger institutions are investing in it, so now it feels a little bit more stable as an investment. But before, and then there's still a lot of cryptocurrencies that are not.
Totally.
Like this Dogecoin thing that had like blew up because of Elon's tweet. Dogecoin doesn't have much backing if you're comparing it to Bitcoin. But anyways, you have to like really research the investment of vehicles that you're going to put yourself into. If you're trying to make money quickly, research it. So then maybe you can make money quickly, but most people don't do it that way. Most people just jump in based off of watching like someone's video on YouTube, be like, I can make you rich in 30 days. And otherwise it's a money back guarantee or whatever. Like, dude, really, are you going to actually give me my money back? And what about the time I spent or whatever, stressing about it?
And all the money they invested.
Yeah. So if you build that into your budget or into your plan where, hey, like I'm going to invest $100 every month or like a week or whatever, however you want to do it, whatever you can afford, then put that and that will grow over time because the stock market over time, it just keeps going up, we're not at the same place we were at 50 to 100 years ago. We've grown since then. The housing market's grown since then. So whatever your strong investment vehicles are that you can put money into slowly, it's going to grow. Again, time in the market is important than timing the market or, trying to make money off of it quickly. And even most day traders, they go like this unless they know what the hell they're doing. Right. And over time that turns into just this, just a straight line or a downward line, whatever it is. But all of that comes with a lot of stress too. So is it affecting your mental health? Is it affecting your physical health? Yeah, probably. Why not just set a plan for yourself and stick to it and let your money grow comfortably? Put it into vehicles that are growing over time. You see it. All the analysis is there and it's in front of you. Internet's huge, and every piece of advice says that, hey, the market's grown 10% over the last 100 years. Your money is going to grow eventually. We just saw a downturn last year, but look where we're at today. It's back up. Maybe we might have another dip. I don't know. We just don't know. Can't time the market. So I think it's important. The same goes for your health stuff, right? You can't get, 6-pack abs in 10 days. And those people that advertise,
although people say,
is it doable? I'll do it.
No, people say that. No, it's the equivalence is like a diet pill, right? Or fat, like a skinny tea, right? The promise of losing 30 pounds in 30 days. But I've always said, I actually have a video from a couple of years ago I did, and I made the analogy. that most mutual fund managers fail to beat the index. The index the index funds, so like the trend of the essentially the global markets continue to go up, and most mutual fund managers fail to beat that no matter how hard they try. And it's the same with fitness, right? Like you'll go up and you'll go down and you'll go up and you'll go down, but the general trend is always in the right direction. And it's not like you say, it's not timing the market, it's time in the market. And it's the same with fitness. It's not, just intermittent fasting for 30 days and then you'll have the rock star body. It's like, okay, well, how can we make incremental changes over the course of this next year? And where I am today and where I'll be this time next year will be monumentally different, but it will happen in very small steps. I'll have a few setbacks along the way, and eventually, when I get this time next year, I'll have arrived at my goal. So I love that approach that you take, which is it's very grounded in a world where that seems to not be the case, especially on Instagram.
And you're totally right. Like you have to take the small steps and you have to be able to measure it and celebrate it too. Right. So I think that's the most important thing. People want quick results. I feel like a lot of us, and especially today's generation, the entitlement has grown so much where it's like, if I've done this, I want the return like right away, and if they don't see that, it's that idea or strategy is dumped and then they move on to the next thing. And don't get me wrong, I'm guilty of some similar things as well in life. But, at the end of the day, you need to know that is happening. You need to know what you're doing. And usually it's the wrong strategy. Consistency in both finances and in fitness is so important, because if you're not consistently doing the same thing, then how are you building upon, the last thing you did? Like you're not building anything.
Exactly.
If you do it for 5 days and then stop, then you're not helping yourself. You have to be consistent with it. And that's what usually helps you grow. And people just want to be consistent for 5-10 days and then reap the rewards at the end, which then don't exist at that point. And then they stop doing what they're doing. So even if you're putting money in the stock market and I always advise, buy index funds versus mutual funds. But if you don't know what you're doing, then sure, buy mutual funds. Like if you don't know how to pick your own stocks, or if you don't know how to pick the right index funds, then go ahead and have someone manage your money, because at the end of the day, at least your portfolio is going up, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of you not doing anything and staying flat. Your money then is going towards other expenses that you're just adding onto your plate. Yeah. So yes, index funds take time to grow. You have to give it time, and you have to be patient. But you have to be consistent as well. You have to keep putting in the $100 a month or whatever you've set for yourself, and maybe start increasing it over time, right? Like that's how your portfolio is going to grow over time to reach the levels to be able to support you at the age that you need some support. And that's when it becomes super fruitful, and not like 5 years down the line when you're 35 and expecting your portfolio to grow by 150 to 300% in 5 years. It's just not going to be there, and that's not how compounding works either. It doesn't compound quickly initially. It takes time and then exponentially compounds as your account's growing over time, as you're adding more into it, as it's going up with the market. It's going to compound a lot faster in the later years. So if you're expecting it to grow within 5 years or 10 years, then you may not get the same results as you would by, giving it 40 years. So starting early is always better, and then being consistently, contributing to it. And instead of starting late and then only doing it for a shorter period of time. But I mean, I still tell people, even if you're starting later, it's still better than not starting at all, because at the end of the day, use what time you have to make it work for you. Right. So even if it grows a little bit, that's better than nothing. Or find another, better late than never, or find another investment vehicle that will help you grow your money at a little bit faster pace. Maybe maybe real estate's better for you versus the stock market. So it's whatever you think will do or work for you based on your research. at the end of the day, because you can't just take someone's word for it and just do it, because most likely you don't know what you're doing in that case. And then when it comes to like, if the market dips all of a sudden, you're gonna be like, oh shit, what do I do now? Like all the 100,000 I put in is now at like 60,000. Like I'm never gonna make that 40,000 back. So you sell it right there and get out.
Right.
And then you see the uptick, and now it's back at like 110,000, or it would have been at 110,000, but you sold it all. So you have to do your own research. You have to know how like things work as well at the same time. And then learn from people who've been successful at it, right? Like look at your body. Like someone who's going to come to you for physical training is going to benefit because you have something to show for, like you've done it already. You know, people come to me, I've paid off so much debt. I know how to tackle it in a much quicker way than other people might who are spending 10 years doing it, right? So people come to coaches, or people come to people who have actually achieved certain goals that are similar to the ones that people are trying to achieve, and they learn in a lot faster way, and they're able to, you know, beat time a little bit. So instead of doing it over 10 years, they may take 5 years to do it, the same thing, you know? So I think that's important, learning from people who are being successful or have been successful at certain things that you're trying to do for yourself.
Yeah. And, you know, you said, do it in 5 years instead of 10. Honestly, there's a chance that it never gets done for people too, right? It can always be on the back burner, which brings me to my next question, which is, most often when people come to coaches, I was going to say that they should have come, you know, 5 years before, a while back. They always, you know, I don't want to say they come too late, because it's never too late, but they, you know, they wait until the last second, let's say.
Yeah.
So there's some things that come up when I think about approaching a coach, either through fitness or finances, is, you know, often the thing is, you know, embarrassments about where they've let themselves get to, or not even knowing if they're salvageable. You know, I have 300 pounds to lose. Is that even achievable? Well, yeah, it's definitely achievable. You know, many people have done it before. So when the people who are listening or watching this, how do they know that they need to talk to someone like you, right? Like this is something that they need to prioritize in their life. And then how do they go about doing that?
Sure. So I think, again, when we feel like we're at the very bottom, that's probably the best time to reach out, because, you know, yes, it could, you know, you could say that, oh, it's only going to go up from here. But how? Are you going to do something about it? Or are you going to just keep going in that same pattern? You may experience lower lows after that, right? So once you feel like you're at a low point, you should definitely reach out for help, and don't be shy about it, because look, man, everyone makes mistakes. No human is perfect. And we all make mistakes in our own ways, and maybe in our own professions too. We make mistakes to grow and get to where we are. And there's no shame in that. Like people, I think in this world, people are super judgy, and that makes you feel like, oh, I can't talk to someone about it. I promote talking about finances. Most people don't like talking about money with their friends or family, but I promote it because you can learn something from someone else. Maybe they've gone through a similar situation as you. And obviously coaches coach based off of that. They've experienced stuff, and they've gotten to a level, you know, of that low as well themselves, and pulled themselves out of it by doing certain things. Maybe they had a coach at that time, right? And now they're coaching other people. I've had a coach before in the past, like, you know, I've hired personal trainers in the past, but like then it was up to me, like, do I carry on like what I need to do on my end to achieve what I want to achieve? And for like the physical aspect, no, I didn't, you know, like that's something that I'm working on now again. But for like, if you're in a financial bind and you feel like I can't pay any more money to a coach, to like, you know, I have no money to pay, then find someone who works is affordable for you. Or sometimes what really it takes is you spending that money or investing more money into yourself to grow from that, right? So if you're going to spend $500 a month on a coach, you're going to make sure that you're going to get that money back in ways, in financial ways, to get yourself out of that grind and then move yourself back up. And you're going to work harder because now you have more to lose, right?
Yeah.
So if you're going to pay $50 a month on a coach, dude, you're probably not going to grow as much, most likely, because you're not, it's not even about the coach's credibility at that point. It's about you feeling comfortable spending that $50 a month because, hey, I know I can afford that $50 a month, and it's no big deal. And then it's going to be like, oh, you know what? I'll do it tomorrow. It's only $50, you know?
Exactly.
And then you go months and months and months spending that $50. And it's really like, oh shoot, like I spent $500 in, 10 months, and I am at the same place I was at because I didn't take the action that I needed to. When you're feeling the burn, that's when you're going to take action.
100%. And it's not just the investment on your end too. You know, what financial coach can truly invest themselves in you and your growth for $50 a month? There's going to be, there's going to be a limited amount of time that they can spend with you at that point. Exactly. A financial coach, and if you're investing in a financial coach, I don't imagine that that's a cost. It's an investment, right? It's not something that's going to cost you money over the long term. In fact, it's going to do the exact opposite. It's going to grow your money in the long term. This is just an initial upfront payment on something that is going to take you from where you are today, which is, a downward spiral on debt for a lot of people, to the long-term goal, financial freedom, and having your money work for you rather than the other way around.
I'll give you an example, Taylor. Like last year, I lost my 9-to-5 job. I got laid off due to COVID, and that was around June. And dude, like I spent money on like making myself better. Like I had no job at that time, and I decided like I'm going to put more effort into like the coaching business because it had always been a side hustle. And I was like, let me just try to work harder and see how else I can provide value and how else I can put myself out there to help more people. And so I paid $2,000 for like, for courses and workshops and stuff like that to better myself. And I couldn't afford that $2,000 at that time. I had no job, and like I still had bills to pay. I still had a mortgage to pay. And, but I still did it. I paid for 2 courses that cost me $2,000 each last year. But dude, I learned so much from them, and I'm like trying to leverage those now. And I've been able to leverage some of it to have a return come back for me. That's going to be way more powerful than what I spent on it. So why not put the money in when you are at a low to be able to increase your level of fitness or your mentality or your financial, like if you can't, like how else are you going to get out of that, hole, right? It's, you don't have the current finance like status to be able to do so. So why don't you like invest in something, learn from someone else, and maybe you don't have to pay for a coach. As if you can get yourself and be consistent and like be on top of watching YouTube videos and try to decipher between the ones that are straying you in a different direction versus the direction you want, then do that. Read books. I bought so many books last year. I read like almost 15 books last year, and I never read before. I paid for I like invested in my own self-development and growth when I was at the very low in my life. Like I had no job. I had gotten accustomed to, like, over 11 years of working in the corporate world, I had gotten accustomed to a certain lifestyle, a certain income level. And I was kind of living at that level, what I could afford. And all of a sudden that was, swept right under my feet and gone all of a sudden. So then I had to figure it out. I figured it out for 6 months and tried to grow as a person. And then I landed another job after that. So it's how much you put into yourself. It's all about self-development at the end of the day. And, if you're living the same life you were living 5 years ago, then you're not doing yourself any favors. we're meant to grow as human beings. We're meant to evolve, right? We evolved from, like just look 200 years back. Don't even look to
Yeah.
the, like
Oh, it's crazy.
the monkey days that,
Yeah.
most people would compare to, but like look 200 years back, like how much better have we gotten at, just life and products and lifestyle in general. And, what more can we do to grow more? And then the generations beyond us will do the same. If they're going to live the same lives that we're living, then they're not doing themselves a favor. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
The investment into a coach, the whole ethos behind these interviews, this podcast is that goal wheel, right? So we have finances, health and fitness, romance and relationships, personal development, spirituality. So there's all these different quadrants of the goal wheel. And if we don't take a step back and look at it, it's easy to take the approach of trying to be our own coach and the master of each one of those quadrants, even though we don't put our attention into it, even though it's not our domain of expertise. We just expect ourselves to be experts in those domains, or to be able to just be proficient to some level.
Right.
These conversations are meant to highlight the fact that it's not only okay, but it's ideal to reach out to mentors and coaches who have walked the paths in these areas of your life that are challenging, that you might not even be interested in genuinely, but you need to take action in, for instance, finances.
Yeah.
And it might be a humbling experience at the start, but on the other end of that is, as you said, so much personal growth, personal development, and just a fuller life to be lived. So it's worth taking head on and seeking out the help of a mentor or a coach.
Yeah, no, totally. And as you said, like you mentioned the quadrants and the wheel of life or whatever. I literally like follow Tony Robbins too. And I just did another one of his, 4-day intensive like workshops last weekend with another buddy of mine. And we went like live 4 years ago. Now it's all virtual, but he teaches the same stuff, man. Like, you got to look at all the different aspects of your life. And this is the wheel of life. I'm literally looking at it.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like
exactly.
you measure where you're at currently in those certain aspects of life, physical body, contribution, emotions and meaning, relationships, time, work, career, finances. These are all different areas of life that you can grow in. It's not just one area where you're trying to like excel everything at, right? The people who are becoming like wealthy, they're also trying to work at other aspects of their life, right?
Yeah.
Because those aspects all work together. If you just focus on money, and your relationship suffers from it, then you're not living a full life either. So you have to find the balances between those different areas of the wheel of life, and see where you stand in each one and how you can improve in each one. So if your finances are struggling, but you're physically fit, then start focusing a little bit on, the finances aspect and maybe give a little bit time away from that, while maintaining what you need to do to keep fit as well. Right. So learning how to balance different areas of your life is the most important thing. And it all, again, comes down to your mentality. So that's the first thing you need to like teach as coaches in general. That's the first thing that needs to be worked on. And look, man, like people feel like they're not at the level that they're at. So they feel a little scared. They feel fearful, and they feel like they're not confident. And so they feel like asking certain questions or reaching out is going to put them down in a certain way, or like they don't feel good doing it. But that's when you reach out, man. There's no like wrong questions. Like one of my clients, she reached out. I'm not coaching her anymore. But she reached out and she was like, "Hey, I just have a quick question. This might be a dumb question." And she asked the question, I answered it. And I was like, look, there's no dumb questions. If you are learning something that you need to learn to grow, then that's not a dumb question. That's something that you needed answered to be able to get to the next level or to understand what you're doing. And that's not a dumb question in that sense. It's something that's helpful. And maybe there's other people thinking the same thing, that it's a dumb question and they'll never ask that question. I'm at least glad she asked it, because even though she said it as such, she asked it and she actually, learned something from it. So reach out to, I think, even if you're not hiring a coach, which I think is the best way to go about it, to hire a coach, because they've gone through whatever you're going through and they've vetted through all the different, what works and what doesn't work, and applied it in their own life scenario, or have helped someone else apply it in their life scenario, because everyone else's situation is different. So they've catered it to different situations already, and they may be able to cater it to your situation, versus you going and spending the time to research it, to figuring out what works and what doesn't work for you over time, and spending all that time doing so, and then maybe still not reaching the goal that you need to reach, right?
Yeah.
So essentially you're saving time and you're saving money over time, because if you're not spending on a coach, say $500 a month, then you're spending it on other resources over time, and you may be spending the same amount of time. Now, you haven't saved time. You haven't saved the money over time.
Yeah.
You could have done it a lot quicker. So it really comes down to how quickly you want to understand certain things, or how quickly you want to transform your life. And again, I'm not talking about the 5-day, abs and 10-day, $1 million in your bank account. But you can reach the level you want to reach by learning from the path someone else has already gone through. And it took them time. The coaches didn't, become rich or anything like that either. They're working their own journeys. They're at a certain level in their journey. You may not feel like you're at the peak level of your fitness either. Maybe, I don't know. I don't think I'm at the peak level of my financial fitness. I'm still working hard to get to where I want to be. But I've already started the path. I've already been doing it. So I can tell you hey, I may be at level 3 and you're starting at level 1, right? So I can tell you what to do from level 1 to level 3 because I've already gone through it. Now I'm trying to reach level 5. So I'm going to get help from someone who's already at, level 5 to learn from them and get to the next steps of my life. So it's a money making thing too, but it's also a growth thing, and it's also an investment in yourself. And it really comes down to how you look at it. If you want to look at it in a negative aspect and think that coaches are only in it to make money, then you're never going to get a coach, and you're going to keep figuring it out. And that's fine too. There's nothing wrong with it. Yeah. Then that's your journey. But if you do take the leap of faith and do it, then it could be expensive. It could be much faster for you as well, right? I'll compare to our conversations around Instagram and social media, how that's been affecting us, because we're trying to keep up with the Joneses. If you take a look at social media in a different manner, that, hey, these are all cool, helpful tips for me, instead of looking at other people's lives and following along with what they're doing, and oh my God, that looks amazing. That I wish I had that vacation. I'll never get there. Instead, you're shoot, hey, they're experiencing that vacation. Let me talk to them. Is there something that I can learn from them that they're doing that I'm not doing right now? Maybe that could be my next step in my career, right? And if it sticks, it sticks. If it doesn't, then you see other opportunities out there. I don't follow a lot of my I don't follow a lot of celebrity accounts that only post BS things, or I don't right, what am I learning from that? I don't follow a lot of my friends that are just acquaintances, because I don't need to know what everyone's doing in their life. I follow my close friends, or my tier 2 level of friends, or whatever it is, and then I see how they're doing. If they're doing something cool, then I'll like reach out and like, hey, I'm really proud of you, whatever it is. Like,
Yeah.
give them good feedback too, because it just that positivity and like the good vibes carry forward. So either I'm doing that or I'm following other financial accounts that help me grow, that I can use to kind of teach my clients stuff. If I keep learning in my area, then I'm only going to do better for my clients. So
100%.
that's how I use social media. I use LinkedIn to get more opportunities. People like I've got reached out to yesterday with another opportunity where I can help push more information out and help people that are viewing this information while getting paid for it. And someone else reached out to me. Perfect. And thank God for it. Like I'm grateful for it, but you have to be able to view social media as a positive thing, as a resourceful thing, instead of, hey, like, this person is doing this. And like, I wish I had that in my life or whatever. And then feeling down about your own life about it, don't let it get to you mentally. Use it as like a growth tool instead.
I couldn't agree more. One of the best things I did in 2020 just for mental health was do exactly what you just mentioned, which is I actually nixed my entire following, not my following, but who I was following for, I think, a month or so, just to give myself a cleanse of the whole feed. And then when I did go back to following people, I know that I'm still missing a few people, but I just followed the people that I either interacted with on a regular basis through the messenger or whom I actually interacted in real life with. And so my feed now is people who I care about their personal development and people who reinforce my own personal development in whatever arena that might be. And it's so much better for your mental health to, in my experience, to have. I actually saw a post the other day. It was a meme, but it was it was very true. It was talking about how Instagram itself is like one of the greatest tools for individual and societal shadow work, because the algorithm is built to reflect your attention, right? Whatever you put attention into. And if you don't like what it's showing, or if it's causing you negativity in your life, what's showing up in your feed, that is a perfect opportunity for you to take a look at what are you putting your attention into. Anyhow, it's it's what you mentioned is such a worthwhile thing to go after, which is to use social media to your advantage, rather than to your detriment.
Yeah, totally, man. I think that's a huge factor in how, and it's a self-development thing. It's how you view certain things. And if you, instead of being envious or jealous of other people's lives, if you start celebrating their life with them, you feel more positive versus the negativity inside. It's like, it really exudes your vibrations in a good and positive way when you're when you're proud of your friends for doing what they're doing versus like being jealous of them. And it comes with this like this weird like ego that comes out within yourself, that's more around like selfishness versus I guess like kind of like an altruistic view almost, or like a celebratory view where you're celebrating with your friends versus seeing it in a different light and like negatively affecting yourself in the process. You can say like, dude, I have such great friends that are working so hard and progressing in life, and I can learn so much from them. Or you can say, damn, that guy is like younger than me and he's making way more money than me now. Like, screw that. Like, that's crazy. Yeah. Like I wouldn't have even imagined that guy to do. Like, he was such a shithead in high school. And, like, how is that making it better for you or the other person?
No,
now you're not considered a real friend in this case either, technically, while you pretend to be, and you're not happy for your friend's growth. Like, instead of praising him and telling him like, dude, this is awesome. Like, I wish more success in your life and more happiness in your life, versus, dude, how did you even end up getting to this level? Like, you see the tone in that, and like, you see it it's what you put out there that comes back again tenfold for you as well. So using these platforms in a positive way, or, you know, using your network in a positive way, is way better than you looking at it in a negative light too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. There's that saying that resentment is like taking poison and expecting the other person to get ill.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, Hersh, man, I appreciate you. I want to be respectful of your time. I know we're coming up to our to the time that you booked in here, but man, like I say, I really appreciate your approach, because it's what I think we need more of, especially on social media. The approach is the sustainable, grounded, you can do this if you apply yourself approach. And you mentioned that you do an initial coaching call for free. I know people watching or listening who want to reach out, maybe they feel a little bit embarrassed. I implore you to reach out and at least jump on that initial call. How can they do that? Where do they find you?
So, and first of all, thank you, Taylor, like for having me and, you know, talking about this subject that's super important, you know, about financial fitness along with other fitness in your life, mental and physical fitness. I think just overall balance between everything is so important. And thank you for giving me the chance and opportunity to be on your podcast to be able to talk about this very important topic as well. And I really do appreciate that. And so if anyone wants to reach out and share their financial journey or where they're at and talk about it and get some help and support, don't feel shy. Don't feel bad about where you're at. Just ask the questions you need to ask. And, you know, there's no shame in anything. If you're working at bettering your life, it's commendable, in fact, that you're doing that for yourself and for your family, that it directly 100%. Affects as well. So yeah, people can reach out to me on Instagram. I'm at Hersh Chopra Financial Coach. I know it's a little bit of a longer name, but if you search at Hersh Chopra, it should show up.
And that's Chopra, right?
Correct. It's HERSHCHOPRA. And there's a book now button there, or you can just DM me and I can lead you to that book now button. And there's a link in my bio as well that you can click on and book the free consultation, and then we can go from there. Yeah, well, that's awesome. That's it. That's the way to reach out to me. The best way possible.
Yeah. I love it. Well, Hersh, again, I appreciate you so much. If there was a closing thought that, you know, over your experience of getting over your own debt, helping others do the same, regain their financial freedom, what is a suggestion that you would give to someone? What's maybe even just a word of hope or you know, some final thoughts that you'd leave with someone?
Yeah, no, sure. And this is something I actually teach and coach around too. You know, now is the time to do it for yourself. If you're in a financial bind or whatever it may be, look at it right away instead of waiting to see if anything better happens on its own, because it's going to be your level of effort and input that really leads you to the next step of your life. So take the action. Come ready to learn and take action. Play all out. Don't go in thinking like someone else is going to solve your problem for you. It's going to require some effort on your end. And once you're learning and growing yourself, definitely like learn to pay it forward, because if whatever you're learning, someone else might be going through the same thing. And if you can help someone else in the process of it, then you're only like, you know, leaving a better mark on this world for yourself as well.
Yeah, man. Well said. Well, Hersh, again, appreciate you. And I look forward to seeing, you know, more of what you're posting on your Instagram, because like I say, there's a ton of great information there. I hope everybody checks it out.
Thanks, Taylor. And thanks again for having me.
Thanks again for checking out this episode of the Power Plant Body Podcast. If you enjoyed it, I'd be grateful if you left it a rating and review in iTunes, because when you leave it a rating and review, it really helps. It lets iTunes know, and they'll be more likely to promote it to others who could also benefit from hearing these conversations. And definitely feel free to share this episode with people who could also benefit from hearing Hersh's insights into freeing yourself from debt and building financial freedom. You can find Hersh on Instagram. That's at Hersh Chopra Financial Coach, HershChopraFinancialCoach. He has a link in his bio to a bunch of free financial tools and calculators that you can start using today to get control of your finances. He also has a link there to his coaching application form, but you can really just send him a message directly as well to inquire about coaching. And don't forget to head over to powerplantbody.com/free-tools to get your hands on a free copy of the Goal Wheel PDF, along with tons of other free tools, because I'm regularly adding new resources to that page to help you create the best version of yourself. So you'll definitely want to bookmark it. You can find me on Instagram at The Vegan Trainer, and feel free to send me a DM if you have any questions or suggestions for future episodes. Thank you so much for spending some time with Hersh and I today. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.